Greetings, folks. We'll be starting momentarily. We got 2 minutes until airtime. Got it on, had a little technical glitch, but we took care of that. And it's over. Countdown. If you want to open up the handout, there's a handout for taking notes that you can see. And there's also a place for you to ask questions during the session. And I'll be monitoring questions. Got a new person just signed up. Welcome. Hello, L, Frank, Gail. Good to see you're on the line. Golden, Hamas, Awesome Word, J&M Lewis. Good to have you. Good to have you on this. Josh, Judith, Wayne, some names, Rhonda, Leslie, some names I recognize here. That's great. And so if you have questions, just put them into the question box in the window there. And I'll be glad to monitor those questions as we go. I'll have a time when I'll review them, but I'll take a look subject to my ability. This webinar tonight is about the 5 pillars of success. What Hugh Belew's learned in over 30 years of working with leaders, building organizations, and creating sustainable profit. Now, my podcast talks about converting passion to profit. What does profit mean? Well, we'll talk a little more about that. So we're getting countdown. It's coming up to 7 Eastern. Hope everybody's online because I'm going to go on time. One of my tips that I teach about meetings, effective meetings, power-packed team performance, high-performance meetings is start and end on time. Start and end on time. So I've got a monitor right here and the camera's right there. So let's go. It's 7 o'clock. It's Hugh Belew. Call myself the transformational leadership strategist. I'm not a consultant. I'm not a coach. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I'm a thought leader. I help people reframe leadership into something that actually works. So transformational leadership is a style of leadership. And transformational leadership strategist means that I integrate strategy and performance because I spent 40 years working as a musical conductor. I took pieces of paper that had dots on them and manifested them into glorious sounds with a whole lot of people participating and a whole lot of people in the audience. So I'm happy to be on this session with you today. I have isolated the missing pieces, and I'm on the verge of creating a program, and I'll give you an opportunity to give me some dialogue and feedback after this webinar to tell me if a program like this you think would be appropriate for the marketplace. 5 pillars for success. The handout is something I created for keynotes, and I got some really great ideas today after presenting in Raleigh with a really good group. I got some inspiration and have reframed some of the language, but the concept is the same. Over 40 years, I worked in middle management. I led mega churches, also owned businesses. I bought a little camera store in Madeira Beach, Florida. It was doing $12,000 a year, and I grew it to $1.5 million in revenue and pretty much control commercial photo, audiovisual in my whole market area of Central Florida. Provided major clients with major supplies so they could do their work. This is way back when we had film, and $1.5 million was a way lot of money. When you had $20 Instamatic cameras and $3 rolls of film, and nickel postcards. Whoa. Since then, I did work in major organizations, hired major orchestras, built major programs, turned programs around that were in distress when I was there. So I specialize in looking at systems and making them work. I don't really like the maintenance part, but I can look at what's wrong and I can help leaders figure out how to fix it. And I work with leaders on 4 continents doing all kind of different things. Some are clergy running a synagogue or church. Some are running a community organization, a charity, we call it nonprofit. I don't like that word because it starts out with a negative paradigm, but we're building communities like we are in a synagogue or church, community foundation, cause-based charity. We're building something that's impacting people's lives. And I work with entrepreneurs with brilliant ideas, knowing that 90% of them will end up in the ditch and fail because they haven't worked on the core competencies. We've got a vision. We need to be able to articulate that vision. What does this organization look like and how do we get there? And so this whole session tonight is what I have discovered are the missing elements that limit our success. Now, some of you are coaches, some of you are clergy, some of you run organizations, some of you are business people. I looked at the names that I knew, and you come from different areas, different disciplines, but you're really social entrepreneurs. We are doing something that's not a corporate job. We are doing something connected to a passion. We're doing something that we're called to do because of our passion. We will change people's lives if we get that thing we called earlier profit. We've got to put gas in the car. We can build the car, but it's got to run. So positive cash flow, money left over, it gives us revenue to actually fully achieve our vision and mission. But what do people profit? What do we profit? There are other nuances if you look it up in the dictionary. It's what do we gain by it? What happens to people's lives? That's profit as well. There are different nuances of the word. Being successful means we move money in the right direction and we put it to good use. It's called really good stewardship. So I hate going to shows and I just look at a slide deck, and I may not be much to look at, but it's all you got. And I made some visuals to keep us on track. So pillar 1, let's just start out with the pillars. Here, I watched Alex Mandossian. Alex does these cards. I do them a little differently, but I like the idea. Pillar 1 is strategy. That's my lame pillar there. I don't have a Gothic pillar model, but it's just a very contemporary pillar holding up what we're doing, and it's strategy. Number 1 is strategy. I talked about this vision. What is it that we're doing? How, when you get on the elevator in a high-rise building and people ask you, what does this organization do? Boom, your vision is that. Then they go, wow, that's great. It's really important that your vision is compelling, that your vision is not boring, that your vision has the power of language, and that you deliver it with the passion that's inside of you. The vision defines what this organization does. It's the concept. It's your defining statement. It can be the future in present tense. You're not quite there, but this is what you're called to be. And then your mission is, how will you accomplish it? The person that heard your vision follows you and says, well, how do you do that? Well, CenterVision has programs and services, systems, tools, strategies to equip leaders for success. How do you do that? We do it through webinars, podcasts, individual nurture. We call it coaching, but it's strategy and integration of strategy, strategic planning, group facilitation, workshops, mastermind groups, online learning, lots of different places. I even have a blog. In the window there are the links for my blog, Hugh Ballou blog. You can find it. Hugh Ballou podcast. You can find it. Hugh Ballou calendar or Hugh calendar. You can find my calendar. I'm going to invite you to follow up and give me your opinion in person. I find that's the best way to do it. So your pieces of your pillar, vision, who do you serve? And part of your vision is, okay, there's a problem out there and we're solving a problem. Well, 90% of entrepreneurs will fail. Dun & Bradstreet did a survey in 1995. 90% of the businesses that closed because the leaders didn't have the skill to run it. John Maxwell, in his 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, has the law of the lid. It's the lid. Our organization cannot develop any further than our ability to lead. Doesn't it make sense that we start there? We're going to talk about leadership in the next pillar, but what is our market? Are we equipped to do it? Our vision, our mission, our market. Who do we serve? Let's define our position of influence and who we're going to influence. A lot of my clients I work with are solopreneurs, they're authors, they're speakers, they're thought leaders, they're coaches, they're consultants. They do this stuff to empower others. I'll tell you what, I'm all of those things, and I can't do this for myself. So I have people to help me. I have a leadership coach. I have a strategist coach. I have a marketing coach. I have people I work with that are way smarter than me in those areas. Even if they weren't, I can't do it myself. It's like a doctor trying to diagnose themselves. Who's the market? Who do we serve? And the unique value proposition. Now, I'm giving you highlights of strategy. In my macro strategic framework, it's not a complete multifaceted grand strategy. It's not a lean strategy. It's in between. It's what we can put together in an 8-hour planning session that defines your business. It's the framework. It's not a business plan. It's a strategic plan. Where do you want to be and how are you going to get there? Whether you're running a charity, a church, or a business, or a synagogue, you need this. You need a roadmap. Think if I was going to get in front of an orchestra and I didn't have music, nobody would know what to play. So I'm giving you some of the highlights, your market. And people want to say, oh, everybody's my market. Well, baloney. If everybody's your marketing specialist, tell me you don't have a market. Find the person that you serve and then define why they need you and what the goals are. Why do they need you? That's the compelling reason for people to choose you over anybody else. I just told you, my unique value proposition is that I do strategy and I integrate it with performance, because performance is where we fail. But we fail because we don't have a strategy, and we fail because we don't have the skill set. So it all works together. We try to leave it out. The Ballou 1090 rule is what you have, your vision, your skill, your product, your service, is 10% of your net, 10% of your organization, 10% of your business, 10% of your organization is what you know, what you deliver, what your product or service is. 90% is all of that stuff that we don't know maybe, or we haven't discovered yet, or we don't have in place. We think someday we'll get to it, but that 90% is what makes the 10% possible. Yeah, I was in a part of my graduating class in high school that made the top 2/3 possible. So I know what the underground looks like. I heard that story from Daniel Pink, but I could relate to that. So we want to equip ourselves. We want to have the strategy. We want to understand the strategy, and we want to understand why people need us, and then be able to articulate that. There's a problem we solve. That's why we make money. We have quantifiable results. That's why people pay us. We want to define that. So people come to me because I understand personal empowerment. I understand how to put together strategy and make it work. And that's so I work with people over the course of a year. And by golly, we make things work because it's not immediately obvious. So this 90% is like all of the iceberg that's underwater. When I served a megachurch in Atlanta, Georgia, we had hundreds of events a week. I touched a lot of those events. I had 700 plus people in the music program. We had all kinds of activities going on. My job was music director. 10% of my job was music. 90% was what made music possible. In my camera store, we sold cameras and photo supplies. 90% was having the inventory, the flow, the accounting, the delivery, the order system in place for clients. 90% of it allowed us to serve clients. So it's the Ballou 1090 rule. We define that with our strategy. And the last one, goals and objectives. Where will you be at the end of 5 years? That's a long-term strategic objective. 3 to 5 years. What does this organization look like? Dream, write it down, describe it in present tense. And then your short-term goals, what will you accomplish in the next 12 months or less? Here's what I learned from reading the work of Napoleon Hill. When he went to visit Andrew Carnegie, Carnegie told him, any idea that's held in the mind and emphasized that's either feared or revered will begin at once to manifest itself into the most convenient and appropriate physical form available. When people tell me, I got goals, they're in my head, I haven't written them down, that's a wish, it's a dream. It's not a commitment on paper. What else that Carnegie that told Napoleon Hill is, I will introduce you to these highly successful people. Woolworth, Wanamaker, Edison, Emerson, Ford, 5 presidents, the who's who of the day. They were very successful. Napoleon Hill gleaned from them those secrets of success. Every one of them had definiteness of purpose. They wrote it as if it had already happened. That's key. They wrote it as it had already happened, as if it had already happened. We define the future, write it in present tense for your long-term objectives, your short-term goals. We're programming our subconscious mind. Subconscious mind, as he talks about in his writings, Think and Grow Rich is the most famous book. There are others. By the way, he says money is the least of those 13 attributes of wealth because it was the least important, but it's the driver for everything we do because we like to eat. Every person had definiteness of purpose. They can describe the future in present tense. Napoleon Hill talks about our subconscious mind must receive what the conscious mind gives it. We program our very being with reading our goal every single day. This is what's going to happen. This is what the future looks like. And the law of reciprocity, the law of cause and effect, the law of attraction, all of those laws that he defined is that we learn to work within the natural laws of nature. God created natural laws. Either we learn to work with those or we're not successful. Things work in a very organized way. And all these people understood that. Understanding ourselves. So write your goal, write your long-term objective, 3 to 5 years, it looks like this. Be bold, dream, write it down, define it in present tense, goal. What's going to happen in the 12 months on the way to that? Strategy. That's your number one pillar. Without a strategy, you will fail. Period. Pillar number 2 is your skill set. It's leadership on your handout. Skills. Leadership is a skill. Leadership is a culture. Here's the bullet points. Lead, learn, grow, influence. Leadership is influence. We're not the boss. In my podcast series, I interviewed some really great people. Cal Turner went to his leadership team at Dollar General. And he said, hey, I got this job because of my genes. You know, my dad founded the company, and I'm now chairman and president. I've got the vision. You've got the skills. We're going to do this together. Skill is a culture. He learned to lead. He learned to influence others. I told you I spent 40 years as a musical conductor. In some of the cities, I hired orchestras that, well, the union was stronger in some places and the attitude was stronger in some places than others. And so I'd get up on the podium with my little white stick And others who aren't conductors perceive that the conductor is a dictator. Well, let me tell you, you got a little white stick and you got union players and you got 2 hours to get something done. They're going to play the notes. You can't make them do anything. However, you can influence them. Leaders are first and foremost influencers. A leader is a person of influence. So Cal influenced these people by saying, look, I got the vision. You got the skill. Let's do it together. Everybody stepped up. Everybody played. They went public, made a lot of money, all of them. They were very successful. Cal said to me, Hugh, leadership is about defining your gaps and finding very good people to fill those gaps. So leaders are influencers. And in that interview, Cal's a very, very dedicated Christian Methodist. He's got the Wesley brothers in his office in Nashville. And he said, Hugh, I told him I was not the boss. Boss spelled backwards, S-O-B. And I'm the son of the boss. And that's even worse. So I'm not that. That was a brilliant moment. I didn't erase that. I was surprised by that, but I thought it was very, very accurate. So our skills are the pillar that make the strategy work. We lead continually learning, continuing improvement. If you're not reading a book, if you're not studying, building your skills all the time, you're not growing. So that's lead. I can't tell you how many people are in positions of authority and they don't lead. You know the vision. Define the future. Now we're going to go to the next pillar. So we got a strategy. You worked on your skill set. In the strategy, we're going to talk about who you need in this organization. So pillar number 3 is about the culture. It's about the teamwork, the culture. So the pillars are competency, role, culture, and expectations. This is speaking, and I've got a series I just finished in my podcast. That's hubaloo.podcast.com, by the way, if I didn't tell you, and it's written down on the page. I've got a series on dumb leadership traps. Well, one dumb leadership trap is the job description. It's a box. We put people in it and say, you do this. Well, we've just created a silo. People don't collaborate because we've put them in a little box. I don't think it's very effective. So we have a 4-step process. We have a document that says the competencies needed for this role, which is the next one, role responsibility. And here's our guiding principles for the organization. Now, we've defined the competencies in your strategy. We've defined your cultures. These are our core values. These are our guiding principles. That's part of my proprietary process for developing a solution map. Strategic plan is really a solution map. So Hubaloo's solution map is, how do you get there? Well, who do you need around you? How do you build the culture? Well, we have to define the culture with core values, which once you write them, they're useless because they're just static words: integrity, honesty, fairness, all that good stuff. It's great. They're just words. We transform them into guiding principles. Principles is how we make decisions. We will treat all people with respect as a human being, regardless of their background, culture, creed. We will always serve others. We will show up for company meetings on time and prepared. We will listen to others before responding. That means completing their sentence, not let them complete it, pause, then form your response. So the culture is defined by the culture. You set the bar, and then what do we expect of people? All right, a role responsibility example would be a marketing person. Told you we had to define our market. Well, we need somebody, an expert in how to reach that market, how to build out our constituency in that market. Defining that market. We need a person on our team. And so their role is marketing director. The responsibilities are to create and implement marketing strategies that will increase the revenue by 25% in the next 12 months and increase the profit by 30%. Now, that's a business one. Now, charities, churches, nonprofits, synagogues, you still need revenue. As a matter of fact, in tax-exempt organizations, and I see there's several of you that represent those, there's 8 or 9 streams of revenue. We think about donors, we think about grants. What about sponsors? What about wills and bequests, planned giving? What about in-kind services and products? What about partner programs with other organizations that have money, but they don't deliver the goods? What about events that raise money? There's lots of ways to drive revenue. Some charities even get property donated, and then they rent it out or use it themselves and then run out the difference. So there's revenue coming in. Defining those as part of your strategy, implementing those as part of your teamwork. So pillar number 3 is teamwork. Number 2 was build your skills, not only for you. If you're going to lead this team, you've got to build out your skills. And number 1 pillar, of course, was the roadmap. It's your strategy. Strategy is about where you're going and how you're going to get there. It's your map to the future. How will you take this highway, and how long will it take you? Pillar number 4 is financial. We've built the strategies like building the car. We've learned to drive the car. We've got passengers in the car. Those are the first 3 pillars. Now we've got to put gas in the car. It wants to go. Well, let's fuel the car. Give it some gas. So we need a financial plan. This is in your strategy. Am I being redundant or what? It's in the strategy. You don't have a strategy, you will fail because you don't know what you're doing. We're implementing all of these tactics. We got so many things going on. They're actually canceling out each other. There's too many things going on. So your strategy is your unified framework and a sequence for execution. In there, you have a marketing plan, you have a financial plan, you have a team plan. Your financial plan is your budget. Every line item on your budget needs to tie to a milestone in your strategy. There's a circular reference. Now, people run out of money even when they raise a lot of money. They run out of money because they haven't got the discipline of, well, where's the account to charge this check to? We must charge it somewhere. So we must have a plan. Plan is a budget. A plan is cash flow. Where did the money go? Cash flow forecast, cash flow review. Well, we want to see where it went, but you raised $10 million. How long will that last you? That's a cash flow forecast. You're driving with the headlights on and not just using the taillights, the rearview mirror. You want to look at the headlights. So your plan ties in with your strategy. You plan, you review, you revise, and you recommit. This works for all 4 pillars, by the way. The strategy, we should have a regular 6-month review process. We make our best plans, but sometimes those plans aren't quite what we thought when we get into it. Maybe the market changes. Maybe we've discovered things that we didn't know before. Maybe we discovered there's some different things to add. Maybe we forgot to put some budget line items in. So it's really important that we go back and amend the strategy, amend the financial plan, so that we're carrying on this balanced process. And then we're going to review it, we're going to revise it, we're going to recommit to it. So there's a discipline in all of this working together. Any single piece of this that's missing will raise your failure rate by 50%, maybe as much as 100%. Now, the final pillar is you need a guy like me. I called it support. You need a mentor, coach. It says coach on the handout. You need a mentor. Now, the difference in my world, a coach is somebody that's a generalist that helps you think about what you're going to do. Is an advisor. A coach asks good questions. A business coach or a leadership coach is very different from an athletic coach. Athletic coach tells you to do push-ups, tells you to do this. A business coach, a leadership coach helps you discover the answers for yourself. That's a pretty good model for leadership in general. Leaders don't have all the right answers. Leaders have good questions. And we build people on teams that do have good answers. And we nurture that. So we mentor the people in our team. We need a mentor. We need a team that's going to be a very proactive team that will tell us the truth. We also need a mastermind group. And we need somebody that's monitoring all the money, the CFO, somebody that's going to help monitor everything that's going on. I believe in having somebody that runs an organization, an admin person, because the leader does not need to do it all. We need to have really good people on the team. So part of your competency is people who are going to do these different things. So your support system is a mentor or a coach. Now, mentor is a subject matter expert. Coach is a generalist. Coach helps you think through processes. Coach helps you find the right answers. A mentor understands your discipline. I told you I work with speakers, solopreneurs, authors, coaches, consultants. I understand that space. So not only am I a strategist and a coach, I'm a mentor because I've been in the space. I know what it's like. And I can help people with that. And so do give me your questions. Don't see any yet. Maybe I'm being really good. Oh, more people signed up. Maybe I'm being really good and you don't have any questions. Oops, there's some. Okay. So about to wrap up here. And I will record this and I will send it out to you so that you can review it. I'm going to look at the handout, which I just dropped on the floor, and go over the handout briefly. Strategy, I have a whole section here for your solution map. Leadership, there's 4 principles of leadership, which you'll find on my blog, hubalooblog.com. Foundations, relationships, systems, and balance. The foundations is your strategy, your skill. Your relationships is your team. Your systems is, do you have bad meetings and expect good results? And balance, how have you balanced personal life and work life? How do you balance multiple priorities? In finance, I talked about the plan. You want a startup budget if you're just starting. You want an operational budget when you're funded. And then you want those cash flow projections that I talked about. Teamwork, that's essential. There's formal teams and there's informal teams. So I am going to be sure that you have this handout and that you have the recording after this is over. So this is Hugh Ballou. I want to invite you to go to hughcalendar.com and schedule an appointment with me. Find out what I can share with you about what's not happening in your life. Find out how to solve the problems that are the most compelling for you. Find out if there are other solutions. And I'd like to get your input about the 5 pillars and creating the masterclass around the 5 pillars. I'd like to get your input and see what you think about it. So this is Hugh Ballou. I am happy to be here with you, and I am looking forward to getting your input. So I'm going to go back to the questions a little bit. Somebody says, hi, we're waiting to begin. I hope that's doesn't mean that we're not online. Okay, thank you for being here, and look forward to having you schedule an appointment with me. Those of you who are watching it on YouTube, you've still got opportunity. HughCalendar.com, HughBalooPodcast.com, and HughBalooBlog.com. Love to have your comments. Love to have your subscriptions to my feeds. This is Hugh Ballou. I hope there's something here that's been beneficial. The 5 pillars that will make a difference, absolutely make a difference in your life. Let me know how I can bring you value. Hugh Ballou, the Transformational Leadership Strategist, signing off.